Hey folks, welcome to the webinar. Our topic today, bringing the Spotify Wrapped strategy to SaaS. And I swear this isn't just an excuse to talk about my Spotify Wrapped. We're actually going to get into how this can be used as an email play, as a social play. I'm Cody Stover. I'm here on the marketing team at Customer.io. We've got Rushabh Patel. He is the manager of scaled programs at Gorgias, which I will give him the stage to do more of a formal intro here in just a little bit. But we're going to give folks just a quick minute here to join. For those in the audience, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for wanting to level up your email strategy and kind of dive into this topic. As always, we want to hear from y'all first. So kind of this topic of Spotify wrap type emails or recap emails, as we use the term more broadly. We want to know, I'm going to post a poll here that'll pop up on your screen, but how often are you currently sending these kind of personalized recap messages to your customers? Is this something that you're already doing weekly? Is it a monthly cadence, maybe quarterly or annually, or maybe you don't at all, but that's the reason you're here, because you're interested in doing so. So yeah, let us know what you already are doing there. Okay, while those answers come in, quick little background story. I try to always jump into these webinar topics thinking about it from a consumer lens. So I did promise I wasn't just going to talk about my Spotify Wrapped, but I am for just a minute here. Spotify Wrapped is something that I look forward to every year, and I'm kind of a stats geek, so I'm always even middle of the year thinking about which songs I'm listening to, which artists I'm listening to, thinking what might pop up, and then at the end of the year, I always have this moment of elation where I find out exactly how many minutes I listened to, who is my top artist, how I bounced around between genres, maybe. So I love kind of how brands do this sort of play to help show me the value, show me what I've gotten out of their platform throughout the year. So as we kind of jump into this topic, that's something that really I notice in my own consumer behavior, something that I appreciate and also motivates me to use a product more. I think I always give my brother crap because he uses Apple Music, and so I'm always saying, hey, Spotify is way better. Look at my Wrapped versus your Apple Music. So just to kind of point that out as a way that subconsciously I've kind of inherited this brand as one that I'm fighting for and promoting just because I love how they show me the value that I'm getting out of it. So I'm really excited for this topic. Let's see, it looks like our poll, we got a few responses in. It looks like some folks are doing this monthly or at least quarterly or annually. So good to know that folks are already sending these kind of recap emails to start off with. And maybe we can pick up some things here tactically as we go as well. Okay, so real quick before I give Rushabh the stage to intro into Gorgias and his role there. Again, the audience, if you've just joined us, thank you so much. If you're already a Customer.io user, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us here. If you're not, real quick intro to Customer.io. So we're a cross-channel customer engagement platform. The best way to kind of summarize that is you can do all of your messaging and data workflows all in one place. So any kind of newsletter you're sending, any kind of product triggered automation you're building messaging wise, you can bring all those into one platform. Transactional messages, you can do that across email, push, SMS, in-app, really whatever kind of message you're trying to send, you can do that in Customer.io. There's a lot of cases too where you can replace something like Zapier. You can build out these kind of similar data automations to trigger things in your CRM when something happens, et cetera, et cetera. So that's some quick background context on us. You can see on the right there, a lot of brands that we're proud to work with. There's Gorgias there at the top, which is where Rushabh is from. And yeah, we're excited to work with all these brands. Audience, whatever industry you're in, you probably have a need to send messages. So that's kind of our bread and butter. Real quick, this is the Customer.io Visual Workflow Builder. So this is where you're actually building out those messaging and data flows, dragging and dropping, pulling things in, creating those personalized messages based on your users' data. So we're going to talk a lot about using user data to kind of personalize here as we get into the topic. But that is kind of where the building and the magic happens. All right, enough about Customer.io. Rushabh, I want to hear from you. Talk to me. What is Gorgias, and then kind of what is your role there?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, thanks, Cody, for having us. I too really love Spotify Wrapped, and so I'm excited to kind of be showcasing what we've done here at Gorgias. But Gorgias is a customer support platform that basically centralizes all of your e-commerce customer service tickets and needs. So we integrate heavily with Shopify, BigCommerce to basically provide customers order information, and then customer support agents can basically perform automations and quick actions to respond to customers ASAP. So basically what my role is I work on the scale team, and we are responsible for driving retention for our customers who have an ACV of less than 7K. So all of our SMBs, we have around 9,000 customers under our belt. And then basically, we own everything from the customer journey to driving cross sells to driving upsells. And then also to kind of cool projects like this to help our customers stay customers and show the value of Gorgias in kind of a simplistic way.
Yeah, thanks for kind of talking through what you do. I think for folks in the audience, whether you're on like maybe the life cycle marketing side of things, or like Rishabh kind of on the customer success scaled programs type side of things, I think all in all, you're trying to create the best personalized experience you can for a user, and doing that at a massive scale is a challenge, but it's something that can be done. So I'm excited to kind of look at some of those strategies today. Okay, there's a quick screenshot on Gorgias there, and we're going to look more at some of the specific email stuff here in a minute. But audience members, thank you again for joining us. If you just tuned in, here's a quick look at the agenda, and then we're going to go full steam ahead into the content of the workshop. So like I said, we're going to be talking about how to bring the Spotify Wrapped strategy to SaaS, or maybe the industry that you are working in, folks in the audience. But we're going to kind of go through it in a campaign walkthrough. We're going to start there. So we'll step by step go through some of the parts and pieces that Rishabh put together as he was putting together this kind of recap strategy. Throughout it, we'll look at data points. So data deep dive, we'll see what data points are used for personalization, what are used for segmentation, those kind of ingredients. And then we'll also talk about the social sharing aspect of this strategy. How do you get people to actually activate on it and share it with their networks, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to have Q&A time at the end, but audience, please don't be shy. You can use the chat and questions there in the bottom right to chime in with stuff as we go. We find that makes it a lot more engaging, and we want to definitely speak to the stuff that you're curious about. So definitely chime in with your questions. All right, Rishabh, let's jump in. So first off, give kind of a quick background, like why or what is a recap email in your words, and then why did Gorgias kind of want to jump in and put this strategy into place? Was there any certain metric you were trying to drive, or maybe other brands that inspired you? Kind of talk me through that process.
Yeah, definitely. So a recap email is something to basically easily show customers what really they've accomplished in a certain time frame. So whether that be a week, a month, even daily, I've seen some products roll out a daily recap email. It's to really showcase that value in simplistic numbers or metrics that are very easily translatable to a customer, so that they understand exactly what the impact they are driving. And so why recap emails? We've seen a lot of great past examples of recap emails like Spotify Wrapped, and how they brought that to social media and how that's driven virality. But then in the SaaS world, we've seen a few customers do it as well. And so we have this Loom monthly recap email, which we use as inspiration. And we really loved how simplistically they designed the different facets of the metrics, to then having small kind of examples of, hey, this is what this metric means. And so that's kind of where the inspiration came from. Exactly why we chose to run with a campaign like this when we did was kind of actually threefold. So the first was we wanted to really try and mitigate churn by showing Gorgias's impact and value. And so we launched this at the end of December last year as a yearly recap. And so naturally, Q1 is actually our highest quarter of churn. So before customers kind of went through that, or we had Q1, we wanted to launch this campaign easily showing the metric-driven impact of a year's worth of work within Gorgias. Kind of the second reason within that bucket is we also had a number of pricing changes. And so if you show the value of, hey, like this is actually how many customers you're interacting with, this is how many customers you've helped, this is how much you're automating. And then we had a really important metric, which was time saved. I think that's a really easy correlation for customers to make. And then helping them understand actually like, hey, this platform is really valuable. Secondly, we really wanted to build our Gorgias brand. So we wanted to kind of reiterate why CX and Gorgeous are so important. And then lastly, and probably most importantly of all, put a spotlight on everything that our merchants are doing to basically showcase, they're the frontline workers who are helping customers with their order volume, with helping and all sorts of transactions. And so we wanted to really easily kind of showcase, hey, you guys are doing a great job. And we thought that this yearly recap was a way to do it.
Yeah. Would you suggest for folks in the audience who are maybe thinking about when the customer journey they should come out with this kind of campaign? You said that you kind of it timed out nicely around just before Q1 when you sometimes see some of that seasonal churn happen. Do you recommend that as kind of like a good place to put it, like right before you know when that renewal or that churn moment happens, or is that kind of a good across the board, or would you say it varies?
Yeah, I think it varies. And I think it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish with the email. So say if this is a yearly recap email versus something that's monthly, it probably makes sense to place it at the end of the year to just recap exactly, what has happened after a customer's time with you in that calendar year. I can also see an argument for placing it within the customer's kind of renewal year because within SaaS, we see higher volumes of churn maybe within the first 30 days and then also at the end of years for yearly contracts. But we can kind of get into this in later slides as we are currently working on a monthly recap email. But we have examples of you can place this at 30 days, or you can place this at a reoccurring weekly email, and it'll kind of tie into what you're trying to accomplish with different facets of this.
Yeah, it seems like this January, so many folks were kind of like looking more critically at their overall budgets and tools and everything, and so it seems like being able to quickly see like how much value you're getting is a really positive when folks are kind of going through that construction process as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's get into talking through how you built it. So starting with planning, kind of let's go through kind of the ingredients that you need to execute this personalized recap campaign. So maybe for somebody in the audience who's thinking like, where do I start? Is there any kind of framework that you recommend, or talk me through kind of how you started planning this campaign?
Yeah. So, and funny enough, like I said, we are planning a campaign right now that is designed as a monthly recap. So this is very fresh. But this is how we have basically tackled it. We've treated it as a product rollout. So it's kind of an extension of our analytics branch. And so I would say the first component is, you need to create a scope doc. You need to understand exactly what the requirements are going to be, which teams you're going to have to pull into this, and then start getting an understanding for, this is the direction that I want to take it in. I'd say the next phase is user research. So we are interviewing our internal members of teams, so our CSM team, our PMs, our onboarding managers, to understand, what do customers want to see at different stages of the customer journey in terms of metrics. So, a customer that's maybe 30 days old versus a customer that has been with you for a year might want to see drastically different things. And then also customers who are SMBs versus customers who are larger enterprise customers who have a more kind of detailed structure in which they roll out their support functions, want to see different metrics, want to see maybe even more complicated metrics. So, creating a roadmap for that. And then also defining, what you're not going to touch on. There has to be some things that are, out of scope. So making sure that you have a very clear scope. So we are currently in the research phase. So we are gathering user feedback and internal feedback. I'd say next up is defining traits with ops. So this is probably really important. You need to understand exactly what can be done. And also you need to understand if that data will have data integrity. So will customers be able to look inside your platform versus look on your email and see the same stats? And if that's not the case, you're going to have to answer some hard questions as to, why are these different? So you want to make sure that those really align. And then you probably want to have some runway for ops to complete, those tasks. So during that time, you can kind of simultaneously run your template designs and start understanding and gathering that first product. So you probably want to understand what the placement of these metrics are going to be, what the importance are, what you want to show in terms of up top, and then how to categorize them. So that's where I would kind of place creating a template design and then approving template designs. And then lastly, importing to Custom.io and then creating your segments. So making sure that you're targeting the correct customers. You're also funneling out customers who shouldn't be seeing this campaign, because we can kind of get into this into the segment portion, but there are customers that probably shouldn't be seeing this campaign, and then you're good to launch.
I like that you called up the data integrity. I could see how that could actually like derail the main purpose of it if things aren't checking out based on what they're seeing in the product and in the communications. So I'm glad you called that out. I also see really quick before we jump to the next thing that from your first initiative there, scoping this out to launch is 1 month. Is that how long it took you the first time around, or is that have you been able to add efficiency here on this second time?
We've definitely added efficiency, and I'd say it's actually a pretty rigorous schedule. When we did the end of year campaign, we had about a month and a half worth of time. But once again, that end of year recap was kind of different from a reoccurring campaign. I think the end of year recap was a little more simplistic in ways, versus you sharing something on a monthly basis has a few more complexities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we'll get into that too, choosing if it's going to be something automated, recurring, or a once a year. Probably some different considerations there. Let's talk badges and awards. So I know as you were planning this out, you wanted to kind of award customers on certain things, or kind of call them out on certain things that they did really well. How did you pick which badges, which awards? And for folks in the audience who are maybe trying to also go through that process, what would you recommend there?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the first thing that we did was we just had a brainstorming session with team members. We thought through examples of what customers would want to see. And then we really tried understanding, I think, like, what are the simple metrics to show the impact for an entire year's worth of work. I think next we also tried understanding, like, what are the big themes of our business. So, what did we really focus on in the calendar year of 2022? So things like automation, things like maybe like macros, or things like revenue. And so we created those into badges. But then we also thought, like, there are pieces of this that are integral to customer support. So what would a customer support agent want to see? So they'd probably want to see things like CSAT, that they are a leader in driving CSAT, and then they are a leader maybe in terms of automations in the regards of, like, hey, I've automated more than maybe my competitors, or I've hit the threshold that I need to. So I think that's kind of one facet of it. And then another facet is actually like segmenting based off of maybe admins and agents, because on an account level, you want to be rewarded for something different than on an individual contributor level, right? So we created a badge for Academy course completions. So basically, our agents are able to show that, hey, I put in a lot of work into Gorgias, and I'm going to share that on social media to kind of showcase that I've completed a certain amount of Academy courses, or I'm in the top 25% of completions.
Yeah, it seems like, to kind of summarize that too, it's like pushing yourself past just what you want to accomplish for your business, but thinking like, what is your customer trying to accomplish, or what would they be proud of for their business, and then bringing that back into how kind of that badge strategy works. Is that a fair way to kind of summarize for folks who are maybe trying to do this?
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got badges. I love badges also, by the way. I whenever I get one, I'm complete a course, I want to share that on my LinkedIn. Whenever we get a new G2 badge at Customer, I'm always eager to share that. So I love kind of this overall strategy of putting those badges and awards out there. Let's actually get into talking about building the campaign for folks who are maybe email marketers too, and or work with email a lot. This is going to be a super interesting part of this webinar today. But so when you're actually building it out, I know you prefaced briefly to talking about different audiences as we were talking about the planning phases, but let's start there. So what are these segments that you are creating, and how did you decide how many that you would need, and what to, segment off of this versus that? Talk me through kind of how you started that process.
Yeah, so I think we first started off with the two different variations or the core variations of the email. So, we know we needed an admin version, and we knew we needed an agent version. So, what are going to be the core traits and components that we wanted to showcase for admins versus agents? So, I think that was the first consideration that we had in audience building. Next, we kind of went into a layer deeper. So, how are different traits or metrics that customers are eligible for, how is that going to impact segmenting? So um, I think probably one of the first considerations was our automation add-on. So we started moving towards an add-on structure for our business. And so, for customers who are subscribed to the automation add-on, how can we show the value of that specific product? So that's, I think, one of the core ways in which we split it for admins. And then if you take a look at agents, agents are really driven by their badge. So we had a number of badges that were eligible for agents. And so I think that's what really drove the variability, as well as CSAT. So CSAT, we kind of put it on a tier above all else, as in, customers probably want to know if they're performing really well in CSAT or not. And so that was kind of another consideration that we made.
And I know as we're looking at this list of your different campaigns and different segment groups, there's 16 sitting there. For somebody in the audience who's maybe like, oh my gosh, do I need 16 to start this off? What would you say there?
No, definitely not. You can create a more generic based email. It's really just, we wanted to show the value of different facets of our business to our customers. And then we also wanted to reward our customers in different kind of considerations, i.e. the badges. So I'd say that you can probably just create one or two versions of this email and be good to go. Or you could probably even dynamically create this within HTML to target specific audiences. So that might be a different way of doing it.
Yeah, sometimes when we're campaign building, you start to get a bunch of different branches going on or something like that, and you think, is this too much? But we always come back to the like, well, it's okay if it has a reason for it. If there's a legitimate reason this is adding value or personalization. So it seems like a scenario where that little cross-check question could work as well. Is there anyone that this maybe shouldn't go to, or let's talk about the exclusion? I know conveniently, I actually got a text from my power company this week telling me that this month I saved 27 cents on my power bill because of my thoughtful usage. And it actually made me chuckle and kind of be like, oh, this is a little cheesy and didn't really, I think, reward me in the way that they were hoping for. Is there anything that you suggest there to kind of avoid those accidental negative or not as positive experiences in these type of campaigns?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the core metrics that we had in all variations of the email were customers helped, minutes saved, and then we had things like macros applied, more kind of support centric metrics. But if your customers helped or if your minutes saved is closer to the end of zero, you probably want to exclude those folks from receiving this campaign. Probably wouldn't be a good look for you to have a customer that only saved 5 minutes using your platform within that email.
Yeah, I was thinking the power company that sent me that could have segmented me better and put me into a more of a, hey, you didn't save much this month, but like here's some strategies for doing it next month type of a nurture play. But
exactly,
one thing at a time. All right, so you've got the audiences built. Let's actually start talking about the emails now. So kind of how did you start creating the emails? Maybe what are some interesting aspects of personalization or where you're pulling in data that you want to point out?
Yeah, so we partnered pretty heavily with our marketing team, I would say. So I think the first thing that we did was we created the outline. So we created the outline for exactly what type of copy that we wanted to include, what the order of metrics that needed to be displayed would be. And then I would say next up, we went to our design team and we basically asked them to create us a mock-up of this template. And so I think that they did a great job in easily kind of displaying that information. And then I think a piece of this is also basically defining like what these traits really mean in kind of a creative way, where the customer can kind of take that away and be like, wow, this is pretty awesome, you know. So we tried introducing that language. So beneath like minutes saved or customers helped, um, we really partnered with marketing to drive that type of message. And then I would say, if you go to the next slide, I think that there are components that you probably want to introduce in terms of um, different variations. So like the first part was very metrics oriented, and then kind of this next part was related to social media and kind of sharing the badges. And then as we keep on going on, you know, there's different sections that you really want to touch on. So um, if you want to kind of showcase what you've done in terms of a year for product rollouts, you can do that within this email. So we showcased all of our kind of high hitting product rollouts for 2022. And then lastly, we kind of finished off with the total amount of customers that Gorgeous as a platform helped. So that was kind of our roundout summary.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I needed to jump ahead there on the slides as you were talking about a couple of those, Rishabh, but we'll jump ahead to those here in just a minute. I was going to say back on the actual kind of more of the raw email build here. Are those dynamic tags, are those things that are changing in each different variation of this email, or are those kind of like the core ones across the board? And I guess what I'm getting at here, for somebody who's maybe starting out with just a few different segments or versions of their campaign, should you be changing those kind of like dynamic fields that you're bringing in for each one, or can you kind of start out with a one set of one groupings of those, or what would you recommend there?
I could see use cases for you having it to be dynamic. What we did was we just knew what these traits needed to be, and we actually needed to compute some of these traits with our ops team. So these were kind of individually computed, within our data stack and then pulled into customer IO. But there could be a circumstance where if you wanted to maybe segment and not create a bunch of different variations, you can just dynamically kind of include these variables within your template.
Yeah, I love the simple design here too. I love the gradient colors there and just how nice and blocked each section is. I know, like, for example, Spotify Wrapped has been doing this for years. So they've got this full rollout each year where you get you click to a different slide and there's another video that comes in with all this animation, and they've really like built it out into this pretty wild design thing as well. For folks who are getting started, what would you recommend there? Like, how did you find that like getting the, actual metrics really clear was like a top priority? Or I see you use kind of like simple icons too. What were the decisions there?
Yeah, so I would say, once again, like going back to data integrity and making sure that the numbers that are being brought into your email platform are true, because customers tend to ask questions as to, hey, how is this computed, or what does this really mean? So I would say that's definitely the first component. And then in terms of the overall kind of email design, we basically followed where we want to move towards in terms of branding and design. And so we felt like this was actually kind of a launch pad for 2023 as well in our design and branding. So I think we used it more as, hey, like this is what we will be showcasing. And so now a lot of our email templates that go off on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis follow a similar branding and design with the icons and with the gradient and stuff like that.
Yeah, I kind of make a Notion doc for myself, or I make two folders above each other on Notion. I put one where these are the things that are going to go into phase one, and then all the good ideas that might take some extra design or engineering work, or stuff, I just drag into that bottom folder. So for folks probably trying to get this up and going, maybe for the end of Q1, definitely can start with kind of these like start with what you have, and then add complexity as you go, as it's valuable too. Okay, we jumped forward to this briefly, but I want to come back to it. So I think one of the coolest parts about these type of campaigns is that it can be shareable. Obviously, again, going back to Spotify Wrapped, they got this viral play where people blow up Instagram every year with their badges that they've earned and their stats. From an actual tactical standpoint, like talk us through how you actually added this social sharing section. Is there certain tools that you need to use? How do you kind of make those links work? Talk us through that.
Yeah, so we thought that this was going to be actually one of the harder components of the email. It turns out it's really really simple. Basically, you can just go onto a site that is a URL builder that links out to your social media platforms, and what it will do is you just input exactly the URL as well as the image that you want to include that customers can share on, say, LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter. You insert that image and it'll build out links for you. And then you can essentially just plug those links directly into Customer.io. So within kind of the Twitter logo image, you just attach that link to the Twitter logo image, and then same for Facebook and same for LinkedIn. Obviously, because we had different badge variations, things got a little more complex in terms of linking the right image to the right kind of Twitter icon or Facebook icon. So that's a consideration to make. But in terms of creating something that is shareable on social media, it's really straightforward. I think the harder part here is actually getting you to get customers to actually like tag Gorgeous or tag end of year recap, and getting that visibility, because you want to understand, what are customers saying about this on social media. Obviously, you can follow your traffic based off of your brand, but it's a little harder to exactly tie back, exactly all the folks that shared it.
Right. So this seems like this is where that splash of organization comes in handy that you did at the start, by outlining all those different segments and campaigns. So you're saying those are all line those up to each of these share links. Was there a lot of link checking going on there at the end to make sure that all of these actually shared the right badge when they went out?
Yeah, definitely. So all 16 variations had to get checked for their badges. And customers would actually see different badges. So CX leadership badge and automation rate badge, those were different. Those are dynamic based off of the customer. We only allowed one badge to be shared on social media. But if you had multiple badges and if you wanted customers to share those, definitely like a range of complexity that could be introduced in that process.
Love it. Yeah, that's something that I haven't done before in email builds, is actually that email to social sharing, but I definitely want to try it now. Hearing that it actually wasn't the most complex piece other than just making sure everything was organized well. That's good to know. Okay, we kind of jumped ahead briefly here, but let's talk about some finished products. So I know you've got a few screenshots here with some examples of how the email actually looked when it was sent. What's this first one we're looking at, and maybe what are some like interesting components of it?
Yeah, so the first one, this looks like it's a customer who was an automation add-on member. So they received a specific automation rate metric. So that was something towards the bottom, which was dynamic based off of if a customer was an automation add-on customer or not. This customer was probably also one of our larger ones, just because of the numbers of minutes saved versus customers helped versus tickets closed. But this is where you can potentially get into variations based off of your SMB customers or your larger enterprise customers. So we are actually playing around with that right now as we are releasing our next kind of phase of this email for a monthly or weekly recap. But we'll probably play around with exactly what are the traits that customers want to see based off of their size, and then also based off of where they are in the customer journey. So in terms of the customer journey component, you can have very like simple metrics that are more adoption related. So have you integrated, how many integrations have you added to your account, or how many macros is your team using within your first 30 days? So really quantifying, how much you've used the platform within that first 30 days, or how much opportunity there is through just introducing something like a denominator in terms of like where you need to go. So, you've hit 2 out of 4 integrations, or you've hit, 25% of your automation potential or something like that.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. A couple questions here in the chat before we jump to the next example too that popped up. First one, Wendy, thanks for asking this question. She's asking, which website did you say you used for uploading the media and the social sharing links?
I think it was actually called Social Link Generator. And if I can find it, I will definitely link it.
Cool. I will put that in there as well for folks. At least the name to Google there. And then Dev asks, can the numbers here be formatted to be comma separated using Liquid? Rishabh, do you know the answer to that? I'm actually not a complete Liquid expert, so Dev, I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer that here on the fly for you, but definitely can follow up.
Yeah, this was kind of a question that I had too. We haven't gotten it solved, but I think that in the way that I'm not sure, honestly. I think I would have to ask our CSM for that.
Yeah, Dev, we'll get back to you. Usually with Liquid, if there's a will, there's a way. So we'll definitely follow up there, but thanks for chiming in with that one. Okay, audience, yeah, keep the questions coming. Love to jump in and kind of highlight those things that you want to hear about. As we get into finished email, go ahead, Rishabh.
And then I just added the social link generator within the chat.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for doing that. This second finished example here. So this one actually looks less metric-y. Who got this one?
Yeah, so this was targeted for everyone. And so this was basically, or excuse me, no, this was targeted just for admins. And so admins got our product releases that we really wanted to focus on, or that were kind of big hitters in 2022. So once again, our automation add-on, we rolled out SMS, and then we rolled out a help center as well as contact forms. So we basically wanted to show, hey, like these were the things that we really tried driving, and then also what's coming up next in 2023. So things like custom fields, WhatsApp, as well as our revenue add-on. So it's just kind of a nice way to showcase, these were our accomplishments in terms of product releases, and then we have a lot of exciting things to look forward to in the months ahead.
So did an admin receive this alongside also more of the recap style metrics one, or were these people not sent the recap style metrics one?
Right. So it was all one email. So
got it.
It started off with the metrics component as the first section. The second section was the social link generator, which we just saw. The third section was this product release section. And then the last section was our gorgeous recap for basically what we've accomplished in the past calendar year.
Yeah, I love that. And I think for folks maybe looking to build this out too and wondering sort of like, I'm making this all about the customer, but can I throw in some stuff about, us as well? Like this seems like a great place to kind of throw in some of those product releases and still bring it back to like how they can get excited about something else coming up as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's look at this last email, and then we're going to talk more about results. I know you briefly mentioned kind of what you were sharing in this one. These stats look like they're a little bit more about gorgeous. Yeah, what are you showing here?
Yeah, so just basically, how many customers we have now grown to, and kind of putting it within the customer's lens of, hey, we have this many brands with customers, but we're actually helping this many shoppers on a yearly basis, kind of through you guys. So, we helped 67 million shoppers, or helped in 2022, and then customers who use us generated revenue of 1.2 billion just from customer support interactions. So those were kind of two things which we've highlighted and which we've stuck to within our yearly recaps from the past. And then this share your accomplishments CTA was actually just it was a reiteration of that LinkedIn share to social media. So we wanted to place it within multiple sections of the email to hopefully get a higher click rate.
Was that the only CTA you had in these emails, or were there some other ones too?
That was the only CTA.
Yeah, just putting it in a couple spots.
Yeah,
in case they're inspired at a couple different moments.
Yeah. There were three others in in the previous slide, and those were for our product releases that we had introduced for admins. So admins did receive CTAs for those product releases. But yeah, so I guess there were
but
5.
everyone majority was focused on kind of getting that share as the main
right
action item there. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. I'm always trying to think about that of like sometimes I got an email where there's 3 different hyperlinked CTAs and that one performs really well, and then suddenly something that has one performs really well. I'm trying to figure out what's the exact sweet spot there and what consumers like. Okay, let's talk results, and then we'll have some time for Q&A as well. So talk to me about it. We got some metrics here up. What kind of at a metrics level did you see happen after you sent this campaign?
Yeah, so definitely we had a larger share, I want to say, of automation customers that were opening this email. We had more than half of admins click to open the email, and then we were able to just basically track, how many clicks that we got via LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and then kind of on the flip side of that, what we did was we dug into social media to basically track down, exactly who was sharing this on the shareable side. So you can see that, there's kind of a variation across the board with open rates. I would say that agents had the lowest open rates, specifically agents with lower CSAT. So all in all, though, I think we targeted, for all of our email campaigns, we target customers who are non-deleted, who have interacted with emails within the past 30 days. So those basic kind of core segmenting components were definitely in there.
Yeah. For someone who's building this out, I imagine it's a little difficult to really set that conversion goal as when someone actually shares it. It's hard to have visibility into, did they share it on their LinkedIn profile or not? But knowing that maybe the clicks were indicative of someone who was at least interested in doing that share, were you putting more weight in kind of like open rates, click-through rates, or is there any other conversion rate that you'd recommend somebody start to track if they're launching this for the first time?
I think those two are really the ones where you can probably just see the most with this type of campaign, because it was an end of year recap. I think with our weekly or monthly email that we'll introduce, we can start playing around with CTAs and maybe introducing more like demo conversion goals for our add-on products if we want to introduce that within that email and see how that converts in the future. So yeah, just some considerations to make. I think an end of year campaign is really just broad across the board. You're trying to hit customers you're trying to hit all customers who have kind of had a great year with you. And then I think one thing that we'll actually do maybe a few months down the road is we'll understand what the impact of churn for customers who received this email was, who clicked this email was, because it wasn't all of our customers who received this email. And so we'll see kind of what those numbers are there.
Yeah. Wendy asks in the chat, what tool are you using to measure these results? Is this just a simple Excel sheet, or is this in some sort of dashboard that you prefer?
Yeah, so this is SciSense. So SQL is what we use, and basically we bring all of our email campaigns into SQL to basically understand not just click rates, open rates, click-through rates, but also we kind of tie correlation for, if we have a CTA that's related to a demo booking, what is that conversion out of all the folks that we have targeted. So we run things like percentage conversions from the clicking to a demo booked, and then also to things like clicking to one sold. So our attach rate.
Got it. Yeah, and I love that you can see here there's a few of those click rates are up above 2, 3, and 4%. So that's awesome to see some of those specific segments. Yeah, really, really working well there to get people to click. I know that there's also things that aren't as measurable as we've talked about kind of here briefly too. especially like those social shares. But talk to me about that. When you kind of dug through LinkedIn and dug through other social channels, what kinds of shares were you seeing? And the follow up to that is, were they what you were expecting, or talk to me there.
I think really customers went above and beyond with what they shared. Some customers would just share their badge. Others would write, kind of longer form snippets of how Gorgias has really impacted their customer support in the past year, how it's helped them to scale. Some customers really did a deep dive into their metrics. So they actually shared their metrics page with LinkedIn and showed exactly how many customers they helped throughout the year. So I think customers, they ran with it, and it was really a momentum driver heading into 2023, which is something that I think we all knew was something that was possible with this campaign, especially how like Spotify has done it in the past. You're really excited for kind of what is to come next. So we were really excited with the impact that it drove.
Yeah, and I love how you see on the post on the right, the CEO is tagging someone else on the team, so get kind of just spreading that love around, calling out the people who really are in charge of making that happen. And then there on the left, yeah, that's great that Gorgias is getting the tag. Yeah,
Right.
I wonder, with the social link generator, can you have kind of a pre-filled post, or is that even a feature, or would you even recommend that, or just better to let it kind of happen naturally?
Yeah,
Things like tags and yeah.
I'm not sure if you can have a pre-filled post or not. I think the link that we used that wasn't possible. All you could do was insert an image, and I think that tagging also is a different convention on social media than
Different, yeah.
than you just kind of writing in there. So definitely something to explore. Different social link generators might be different. It was definitely cool seeing the interactions between teams. Like how you said, a CEO kind of commenting to maybe one of their support managers. We had a lot of kind of back channel feedback around that as well. So a lot of our folks who are CSMs would get feedback from their customers on, hey, like this is awesome. Can I get more data around it? Can I see it for a specific person or a specific agent? So that also gave us the inspiration to run with this on a more reoccurring basis and create it into a weekly or monthly campaign.
Yeah, I love that kind of back channel feedback loop too. I think, like, maybe to summarize as a takeaway, folks in the audience trying to build this out, maybe it's set a couple metrics that you want to track, whether it's clicks or if you are having some product adoption or demo requests kind of CTA to it, maybe choose a couple of those. But then, yeah, it seems so valuable as you go through this Rushub to just like talk to internal team members, hear what they're hearing, hear what customers told them, or just literally go through and pick through LinkedIn a little bit too, and see if you can pick out some of the stuff that won't show up on a dashboard.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that kind of like brings us to the end of the build part. Audience members, we're going to have time for Q&A here, but yeah, Rushab, thanks for going through that in so much detail. I think I come to these type of webinars and workshops to really see some tangible things that I can jump in and start using right away. So yeah, thanks for all the detail on that.
Appreciate it, Cody. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, before we get to Q&A. So next up, if you enjoyed this workshop today, we're actually having another one on March 9th. I'm going to actually copy paste in here the link in case folks want to go ahead and save a seat here right on the fly. So bear with me as I just paste that over. But this is going to be on send time optimization. So I think one of the questions that we hear frequently is, when is the best time to send an email? And there's tons of blog posts out there that say, oh, it's the magic time is Tuesday at 7:45 a.m. I think we all know that that's hard to really nail down, business to business, industry to industry. And so this workshop's actually going to give you some tactical ways that you can kind of use your customer data to kind of build out a process that assigns each of your users their specific best time to send something, so that you can really cater that to your customer base. So when in doubt, pay attention to the data, and this will be kind of like a simple way to build out a process that recognizes that and then sends at the right time. So I'm going to post a link to that. If folks are interested, go ahead and grab your seat there. That's going to be a fun one as well, and kind of continuing on this theme that Rushab started here today of just what are all these different messaging strategies that we can do to kind of better engage folks that we're trying to engage. So the other quick thing, if you are already a customer, we're so happy to have you here. If you are not, but you're now kind of interested in how customer works and how you can kind of build these campaigns that adapt and react and personalize based on what your users are doing, we'd be happy to kind of walk you through the platform. So I'm going to post a quick little follow-up poll here. Let us know if you're interested in learning more, or if you're already a customer or user, just give us a little high five there. But we're happy to walk you through the platform in a quick demo after this, if that is something. So just let us know there in the poll. The one cool thing I was going to say is our team, we built out some cool use cases that we can demo for you on kind of these dynamic recap emails, or a similar one if you're trying to send something like once a week on, for example, this is a fintech one that we built out based on if your customers have different savings goals or if they're at a different percentage towards a goal. We have some cool examples we can showcase there as far as how to build those out and do it in a way that's really automated, so you don't have to build it every week, but it's something that's just flowing. So definitely let us know if you'd like to see those. All right, so we got about 8 minutes left. I know some audience members have already asked some good questions. Rishabh, let's see if there's any other Q&A here to get into. Folks, let us know in the chat or questions if you have anything else. But I guess, Rishabh, just to kind of jump in with a question I had. If you were going to, I know that you're already building this again now, but if you kind of, after you built the last one, now that you're doing it again, is there any quick changes that you made and learned from the first version that you're doing differently in the second version that you would recommend to folks?
Yeah, a lot of changes actually. So I think we're implementing it with all the user research that we're doing, really understanding from a customer perspective, what is it that they want to see, and also from like an internal perspective. I'm like interviewing our director of support or our managers of support who are in Gorgias and who use our platform on a daily basis. So they have a really good understanding of exactly, what metrics they would want to see if they were a customer, or kind of how to view it from the customer's lens. So if you can kind of take that and apply it for your campaign, I think it's just going to be more insightful. And then I would say also, just this overall planning structure has really helped us, understanding exactly, what we'll need from our different teams. So ops, marketing, design, and bringing those folks together to basically make sure that, you can launch this as soon as possible. In terms of the exact email and the copy and things like that, I think the suggestions that we've kind of glossed over today. So, the liquid, having the ability to, introduce a comma, or even on the social link generator button, seeing if you can automatically tag folks, and then, experimenting with different types of CTAs to understand exactly what the impact of this email is going to be, or if you can drive engagement or retention or upsell with this email.
Yeah, I'm also curious if there's any, you mentioned working with a bunch of other teams, stakeholders, sales, product, support. Is there any kind of like, as you gathered these specific metrics and calculated some of these things, is there anything unexpected that you kind of learned, or like a metric that maybe popped up that you're calculating that suddenly helped, someone else on one of your teams kind of, take it and run with it in a different direction that you didn't expect, or any kind of those unexpected things that came out of it?
I think, once the email was launched and our CSMs were seeing it for their customers, CSMs wanted a copy of it for like all of their customers. So they wanted to understand exactly, where their customer base lied in terms of, what were the amount of customers that they helped throughout the year, and then what was their automation rate. And so it was kind of a way for them to kind of drive more value for their specific book of accounts.
Yeah. And that was something that you didn't necessarily start off with that as a goal, but
yeah,
another way to utilize it.
Yeah. Exactly. That was kind of like, those things that happen in terms of like network effects. I think that was
Yeah,
definitely one of them. Yeah.
yeah. That just seems like a great piece to point back to too. If you are in that like customer success role, really just keeping the value. I think as you were showing one of those emails, the finished example one, I think where it had a customer who had really high numbers. You said one of your power users. I mean, I think one of the numbers was like 46,000 something, but I'm just thinking of, my usage of different SaaS tools and thinking if someone quizzed me and they said, hey, do you think you use this tool 10,000 amount or 40,000 amount? I might have no concept of that, like off the fly. I'm like, yeah, I use it a lot. I have no idea. But actually seeing that number be 40,000 would make me be like, it kind of has that wow factor of like, wow, I really do utilize this tool. And
Exactly.
so I could definitely see how there's some value there and really pointing out, no, it's not just 10,000 that you use this tool. It's 40,000. It's a major piece of your stack. So that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, audience, if you don't have anything else, I think we will wrap there. Just a couple minutes early, but Rishabh, again, thank you so much for walking us through this. Audience, I hope that you had a good time here in the event and have some stuff that you can take away and start building your own recap emails. So, Rishabh, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Cody. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see everybody on the next one.